Alright, I'm Flying Squid. This is the second one. Second track on the album now. It's called Bottle Bunker. This song, kind of its story and place in the album, it's Ren's perspective. So Ren is kind of like a shut-in. He's jobless and very lazy, lives on his own in his tiny little apartment. And in this song, he gets an online job, a mysterious online job. And he's not exactly happy with it. And so I knew the song was supposed to sound kind of digital, and I also wanted it to sound big, because it's this big decision in his life, so it needed to be both of these things. So I actually, first, I want to talk about some of the clip setting stuff in Ableton, because I use it a lot in this song. So let's start with the bass, actually. Pretty sure these two are the bass tracks. So Ableton actually lets you mess with the audio clip itself in very intuitive, in my opinion, very intuitive ways. So you get like these little marker settings, so I can like move them around and stuff. And it changes the timing of the little markers, the little clips, which is they usually will automatically show up on every transient in your audio file. And you can quantize it in this little menu down here by going to this little transform menu. But I don't think I did that for this bass track. What I did is I actually didn't have a bass. But I needed a bass sound. So I recorded a normal input guitar, and I pitched it down 12 semitones, so it was an octave down. And then I started EQing it. So I talked about how I mixed bass yesterday, but as you can see, I got kind of like, I wanted like a dirty, rambunctious kind of bass sound. And I wanted a little peak around the 1K so that it stuck out a little bit, especially after the distortion. If I was mixing this now, I would have been a little heavier with the EQ right there, because as you can see, there's a lot of info down there, and I talked about yesterday. I keep saying yesterday, or maybe I did. I don't know. I felt like I just said yesterday. But the other day, I talked about how that could cause some problems in the mix if you let those build up after a while. But yeah, clip settings in Ableton, mess with them. They get you cool stuff. I also used them over here during the second little chorus bit. As you can see, I got this weird little sound by putting the warp mode right here. I put it on beats, which means that it's going to warp to whatever kind of note you put. You can put like eighth notes, quarter notes. I put it on sixteenths, and I told it to stop after hearing the transient. So it's gonna get rid of the release after every transient. It's gonna hear the big clip information. These tracks are all clipping right here on purpose. I don't know. It was kind of a bad decision. Low-key, I could have gotten the same sound on by different ways, but I did this just so that the limiter would make it super smushed and less dynamic. But as you can see, I put it on 16th, and so I get this kind of weird semi-guitar, but also kind of synthy sound. And I put a bunch of delay on it and everything. It's got the Tolex guitar crunch amp, which you'll see on these other guitar tracks, because I really love the shitty Ableton guitar amps. They sound really cool to me. And you can get cool sounds out of them. But yeah, as you can see, super flat EQs on all of these. I really wanted all the information to stay in there. There's a little bit of a duck, or there's not, but there should be a bit of a duck right here. If I was mixing it now, I would do that to make room for the vocals later. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on in this world with the crunchy bits. As you can see, like that's what's happening. When it comes to the drums, this thing up here, another thing Ableton will let you do is I can, if I have like MIDI, like see these MIDI drums for the verse, I can freeze and flatten them. And what that's going to do, it's going to turn it into something that looks like that. Which basically means it's going to have none of the effects that were on the MIDI track. It's just going to take the information and export it down into a track for you, which you can then do all the quantization stuff on. I tried to do that here because I was trying, like when I was first making the song, to get a different drum sound. But they sounded really crappy. So I ended up switching to a Gen Purpose kit, which is somewhere down here. It's a MIDI kit in Ableton. And I left the kit basically untouched, except I did throw in my own sample. Not my own sample. I actually got this sample from Mew, spelled MYU, or Elijah, who I met at UNT. Really great snare sample. So I threw that in there, smushed these drums up, something fierce. A trick I like to do with drums is pitch them down with the little Ableton pitch control. I pitch it down about 4, and then I mess with the formant, but then I put the mix knob at about half, because it adds like I talked about the butt of your song, but it adds butt to the drums. It makes it makes them, it gives them a little something more on the low end, which I think is really cool. And then there's a bit of room reverb on there. These drums were supposed to sound huge. So, and as you can see, they sound huge because of all the compression and everything on them. There's a drum noise glitcher. Really like this preset in Ableton. You can add a lot of noise and kind of weird comb delay. And then a sidechain thing to the bass, because I talked about that before. But, yeah, just some huge, ginormous drums. I layered them up with a couple of different color sounds, like this crash, which is really lightly EQ'd. I actually have 2 crystallizers on this. One crystallizer is pitching it up. It's like, wait, I explained what a crystallizer was last time, I think. But it's taking a snapshot of one transient of whatever you're putting through it, and it's like pitching it up and like making it into this weird crystalline kind of delay. And you can do it at whatever pitch. So I put it down 1,000, whatever, 1,200 cents, and I put up 1,200 cents. So I get this cool like scattered sound out of the crash. And then there's some impact color noises right here from just to give it a huge explosion when it goes into the loud part. There's 2 synths. One of these is made out of a preset, but I changed a lot about it. It's got some reverb, it's got some stuff. I love the Ableton vibrato filter. It's really cool. But I think another thing I can talk about here is the MIDI map stuff you can do. So in Ableton, let me make sure I soloed this. Okay, I did. In Ableton, it has a lot of, I think I really like the way the MIDI stuff, the way you do it. So as you can see, this is like the little line I wrote. You can control the note expression by making it glide up and down by just like, messing around with it like that. It's really intuitive, I think. So I wrote out that little line, and I doubled it up with this Fez key sound right here, which isn't a drift object, so it doesn't really give you all the control with the different types of waveforms and what you're putting into it to make the synth sound. It's kind of like a preset thing that you just get some settings about, but just put it in there to widen the little synth. There's a crystallizer, some reverb on it to make it roomy. Yeah, and then there's this little loop I found to double up the drums. As you can see, I would have EQ'd this more. I left way too much just in here. But it's okay. So yeah, altogether, it's this little opening part with the My Little Pony sample. Ooh, I forgot the pad. There's a pad in here. Yeah, cute little pad. It's an MPE Dark Cinema pad. I gave it a stereo widener mod because the guitars felt like they needed something spacey in the background to back them up. So I put the stereo widener to kind of fill in the space that was in the little edges and cracks of the song that the clipped out guitar wasn't filling up. And there's crystallizer on this too. There's crystallizer on like fucking everything in this song. And then we get to the verses. This song is supposed to be super dynamic. So the verses get uber quiet. Like coming out of that, it's like, and now I'm in quiet land. These drums are a little swung, but yeah, like really slight EQ. First Apple plugin we're looking at. I did the same thing. I just wanted a different texture, but it's the same thing I did on the other drums to just pitch it down and then add some darkness to these little goofy MIDI drums. There's the other bass track. Here's what the quantization thing looks like. It's just, I said quantize to every 16th note and make it about 86% accurate. So it's doing it 86%. If I put 100, it would just click it right to every 16th. But I didn't want it to do that. I wanted there to be a little humanity left in it. You could put it on different algorithms. for different things you want out of the quantization. If you put it on complex, it's going to make it sound the most real. If you put it on beats, it'll make it sound robotic, like it's really clicking to the thing. But I usually just do complex because it sounds better. Yeah. So we get to the verses. It's just bass. There's a guitar in here. Yeah, there's a guitar, really lightly EQ'd. We can see Pan Man and Echo Boy on here. Pan Man, I really love how Pan Man looks. Wait, just look at it. So it's pitching it around to the sides. More vibrato, light EQ, light compression. This guitar, I just wanted to be super dry because, like I said, the other guitars are not dry. They're drenched in dirt and mud. So it's like I wanted it to go from this one space to this other space. So the verses needed to have a completely different sound palette. And I wanted these to be especially a little digital. There's the vocal tracks, which are a trip. These were very badly mixed until like the last minute. This was like the last song I finished mixing for the album. Because there was just a lot to do. So the vocals have some auto-tune on there. The Ableton auto-tune lets you make it really subtle and smooth, but there is auto-tune on there. I did the same thing like with the other track. There's a main track and then another one, except both of these have a little delay on them. I don't usually do that, but in order to help the digital, I put the digital thing I was going for. I put Spacebird's Legacy on there. And so Spacebird's going to do the same thing that Crystallizer's doing, but it's putting a really heavy LFO on it. So it's sending out these little blips of your recording to the different channels, like in stereo. And it sounds really freaking epic, as you can see. And really robot-like. So yeah, this little funky bit. There's a steel pan made out that's made out of the 80s tape preset. I wanted it to sound a little silly, like every song on the album. There needed to be a little something silly. But then the verse goes straight into this little chorus bit. And the way I did this, there's an easier way to do it that I could have done, where I could have grouped all the tracks that I wanted to have the filter sweep. But instead, I made a filter sweep and copied it to every track. But you can see what it's doing is it's like an EQ, but you can automate it. And so it's taking this little bit up here, pushing it down, and then opening it up. And it's on everything except for the vocals. There's some stuff that gets introduced right here, like this little riser noise sound and another impact gunshot. And then this steel pan comes back and doubles up the little in-between melody. There's also this little synth track on here that's made out of just like a little stab. It's got some light reverb on there. It's really buzzy. It's definitely, the song was a lot of color, way more color than another song. It's gonna be crazy when I get to Lights On, because that song is just fucking ear candy the whole time. But yeah, it needed a little something else, so I threw that in there. But yeah, and then this is the first, this nightmare vocal stack is right here. I can go through everyone. The baby voice is in here. Just a bunch of layers. There's some harmonies. Now, I put this on before I started recording. Part of the reason that this mix was so crazy up until the end of the album is that this this part was so muddy. These vocals were so muddy. So, something I should have done. I don't know why I didn't do this, but I should have put this group. Ableton lets you select a bunch of tracks, group them, and then you can put effects. It's like a bus. I'm sending it to the bus. And I can put a bunch of effects on the group, and it's going to apply to all of the vocals in totality. But yeah, as you can see, there's lots of tracks here. So yeah, don't EQ like this. Look at this. This is why this song was a nightmare. Look at these terrifying EQs on top of EQs. Here's the first instance of another Apple plugin. This graphic EQ. Graphic EQs are useful if you really need something exact, because EQ8, as useful as it is, sometimes it seems more like abstract and ephemeral, and you need to just like look at all of the frequency spectrum and be like, here's where I hear the thing, and turn down the thing. And I used that there to get rid of some peaks, not peaks, some weird gross frequencies I was getting from the mic. Again, U87 for these. The guitars I'm just getting in. The electric guitar is coming in through a DI box, a Universal Audio DI box from the studio. Direct in. Yeah, and then the vocals U87 Newman, same as before. Yeah, that's that part. Where's the thing I soloed? There it is. The group. And then we go into the huge part again. Nothing really changes for the huge part, except I add a little auto-tune reverby crystallizy thing here. This low-key sounds like, you guys know Emily on Spotify, like, my name is Emily and I'm 5. I like playing Roblox and going outside. It's kind of what this is giving a little bit. But it adds a little something in there. Then we go back into this other verse, same as the first. Then instead of the steel pan, I traded it out for this little blippy blip. Oh shit, no! The things confused me. This is the 80s tape sound, this is the steel pan. Sorry, I'm having to record this in a very weird way. I know what all of these tracks are, but I can't really hear them because the way my screen recorder works, I don't really have an effective way to listen to the stuff while I'm showing all of it. I just kind of remember because I spent so much time in these audio files. So excuse me for that. This is not a steel pan. This is a drift object. What I have it doing is the oscillator, as you can hear, the oscillator is going up and down. So it's taking this sine wave part of the synth and it's making it go up and down 2 octaves, timed to 16ths, which gives it this cool clicky bloopy computery sound. And it continues throughout the whole time. Even when it eventually, wait, why do I have auto pan on this? I don't know why it says I have automation on the pan. This track was a mess, as you can see. But yeah, it's just a cool blippy thing. I use this more in whenever we get to Plan from Hell. I use the automation arms a lot, so I can talk about that more there. And then this is the steel pan right here. Light EQ, vibrato, as you can see, just like I feel like everything on this track has a light EQ and vibrato. Like everything's wiggling. Yeah, and then it goes into the chorus again, just this time without the auto filter. Let me talk a bit about the vocals here. It took a long time to get these to sound okay. I was really kind of just farting around when it came to mixing these. I have more of a method that I get into later in the album, I get into the groove of using, but this was one of the first tracks that I started recording, and it was also one of the last ones finished. So it's kind of this weird mishmash of like techniques I was using later that I learned and techniques that I was using earlier because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But that can still get you there. Anything can get you there. Yeah. And then it goes from that last chorus, into this huge part one last time. It starts repeating right here. I really like the little, but there's also a little extra synth line that shows up here with a cool little actually I'll solo the synth in the pad so you can hear it. I think it sounds really cool and it adds a lot and it's my favorite part listening back, I think. Yeah, and then it goes back into the little blippy. The blippy comes back with its little automation arm, or the automation actually goes away for this part, because I wanted it to sound stupid at the very end, like Rin. Because I guess I can explain kind of the lyrical themes. I don't want to give too much away, but this first verse, is kind of like Rin talking to himself in his own head, and then the chorus is like the instructions, or at least his feelings about the instructions he's getting from his online job. And then this verse is Francis, who's another character in the story. Francis is like, "Hey, dude, this is an opportunity for you, but you have to be serious about yourself, and you have to know what you're getting yourself into, because this is the start of some deep shit that Francis already knows about." And then the chorus, this last chorus, is Ren kind of coping with his job and what he has to deal with. I think about lyrics and writing lyrics in this very methodical kind of way sometimes, but also at the same time the process is also super like bungee cord like. I really am trusting myself through a lot of it, and I don't really give myself a lot of time to second guess it. I'm really just like, that idea sounds cool, and then I throw it in. So I don't know. I hope you understand. I could maybe get into, in one of these later ones of these I can talk about lyrics and how I write lyrics more in depth, but it's a really like personal process, I think, for everyone. And so what works for me isn't going to work for everybody. Especially if you're character writing, because this is kind of character. It comes from a place inside me, but this album is all character writing too. But yeah, and then there's this shitty guitar. It's DI, direct in. It's actually the same guitar track used in the choruses, except I just took all the shit off of it. As you can see, all of this is unsoloed, and it just gives you this baseline stupid sound. I didn't really talk about how I got the distortion on these guitars, so I'll do that right before we end. Basically, I used the Tolex guitar crunch amp, except I turned everything down except for in the pedal drive down here. I gave it all the treble to get this really crunchy, gross sound. And then I added more distortion with Devil Lock. And I added a Primal Tap distortion. So basically how I did this is Primal Tap is a delay. But with Primal Tap, if you turn the delay all the way down, so it's 0, it's just sending the signal right back, and you turn the input all the way up, it's just going to overload itself, and you get this really nasty distortion sound. It's really crunchy and huge and muddy and gross, and I love it. Yeah, and then compression, and that's about all of that. Yeah, let's listen to that part all together. This one last part all together. Yeah, alright. Well, that was Bottle Bunker. It's a bit longer than the other one. I'm Flying Squid. Love you guys. Thank you for watching. Shout out my friend Kevin. It was his birthday the other day. It was really fun to go outside and play with my friend Kevin for his birthday. Who else am I shouting out? Shout out my cats. Shout out Eleanor for letting me stay at your house the other day. Shout out Shoe Hill. All right.